When it comes to coverage of this rally, will it get much? Are the media paying
No,
attention? Do they have an
no,
interest in covering it?
no, 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 none whatsoever. I was trying to find it just today, just online, and it was extremely difficult. No, absolutely not. It's good. A couple of things to see: nonviolence. No, nothing even remotely similar to what occurred on January 6th. That was good. It was terrific to see people actually get up and do something and not just take pictures with their phones. That being said, am I in any way anticipating drastic change? Not on your life. Because we understand what's happening. I'm talking to you. Many of these people are well-intended. They're good. They're having a good time. They understand the issues. Some of them are political influencers. Some of them do this for a living. This is what they do. Some messages are far more coherent than others. But here's the bottom line. I'm only interested in the following people: independents, undecided, and middle of the road. People who are not committed. There are people on the left or the right, and if we can even use these ridiculous directional signals anymore, I don't know why, but let's just, for shorthand purposes, use this, because it doesn't even work anymore to call them left and right. But there are people in the middle who are asking questions. For example, did you read the demands or the points of this? And in no particular order, when you ask mainstream Americans to disband NATO, now, you and I might say, well, there are many reasons why that might make sense in this post-Soviet. No, no, no. NATO is tantamount, is consistent with, and synonymous with America to many people. You're asking to disband it? How are you going to do that? Nobody says. How about this one? Abolish war. Okay, could you be a little bit more specific? Free Julian Assange. This is the thing which I don't understand. It is the simplest thing under the sun to explain why a journalist has to be protected under the First Amendment. So we throw that one in. Now, this is great, and I applaud it, but let me give you a little bit of perspective. I'm old enough to remember the Vietnam War, and there were Vietnam protests. And at first, they said, oh, here they come again, these lefties, these long-haired, dirty feet, pot-smoking hippies, who cares? Let me tell you what changed. When mothers and fathers and grandmothers and nuns and priests and religious people said, this is enough, when it broke through that blood-brain barrier, when people understood, I get it, I understand it. The American people are busy with a lot of stuff, and I would venture to say all over the world. And there's this group of people, like I said, in the middle, and they need to be explained to. You have to use not rhetoric, not the usual stuff, not the same. Listen, I know a little bit about performing, and sometimes when you go out with a group of people, you're going to say that which makes them clap and applaud. Meanwhile, if somebody from home says, well, let me tune in and see what these folks are listening, they're not going to understand what you're talking about, because it's sloganeering to an extent.
Yeah, no, good explanation, breaking it down, absolutely. In terms of the rally, now, there were some media reports before, ahead of it, Lionel, saying that it was almost like a ragtag alliance of the far right and the left, seeing that as a completely negative thing. I would submit that if that's getting people together and talking about a common theme, then it mightn't be all that bad as well. People want to rage, vent, have their say against what they see as a, quote, war machine. What's wrong with that?
Oh, no, it's nothing. It's great, if that means anything. But here is the thing. And Ewan, my friend, this is what people do not understand. I interviewed one time Robert McNamara. I said, what was the biggest problem, the biggest mistake you made of Vietnam? And I'm not the only person you told this to. But he said, we didn't understand what the war was about. You have to empathize. We didn't understand, from Ho Chi Minh's point of view, it was nationalism, it was a civil war. We saw it as something else. Unless you explain this thing called war, You have to explain, well, what does war mean? Why is there war? Are some people goaded into it? Is it self-defense? Do you call everything war? And when somebody says, let's slash the Pentagon, slash military, wait a minute. You're also asking Americans right now who have balloons flying over, and you can laugh all you want, but this scares a lot of folks. You're asking them now to strip Pentagon and defense appropriations and to minimize the military now? Wait a minute. This timing might be a little bit off. Unfortunately, my friend, you need time and effort and explanation and perspective and history,
surely,
and you
Lionel,
can't do this at one day.
But surely that's what people like Ron Paul, experienced speakers in front of many audiences today, is doing, trying to get that message across. It's hard
Indeed.
if the mainstream media isn't covering it, but surely little by little, if that message, that audience gets bigger, that can only be a good thing. It has to start somewhere stateside to say that, you know, this is costing us a lot of money at a time when our living expenses are going through the roof and billions are going to Kiev. Surely that must make people sit up and listen.
I will take, please don't underestimate me, as one president said. I want this to be positive. I want this to be the first step, the first kernel of this, if you will, this peaceful explosion of thought and understanding. But what I'm saying is, I know enough. I know what I'm talking about. I'm merely the physician or the pathologist. I'm reading the X-ray. I know how these folks work. Now, what I want to do is, let's have another one. And I hope now, if we could do one thing, if we could somehow unleash the power of social media and media to let people know this, to let them know. Information is the currency. Information, this is the ammunition. When people understand what is going on, I want the whole world to say, wait a minute, you mean to tell me this was going on the whole time? Yes. And I didn't know this? No, you didn't. That's what I want, because ignorance is what's killing people. And a lot of times, listen, I'm not trying to make fun of people. They're busy. But when you talk about war, it's good guy, bad guy. This Manichaean, apodictic, left, right. But people are still arguing this Russophobic, post-Cold War, Kremlin baiting Boris and Natasha nonsense, which is another problem as well. But listen, you see this right now? It's peaceful. No police, nobody with Valkyrie helmets, nobody being arrested, no nothing, no agents provocateurs, just peaceful, a communication, an exchange of ideas. Who could ask for anything more?